Hello, I'm Michael Burke. Many of us are keen to find out about our family tree, but what if there was a pot of gold to be found at the end of it?
To find that you're part of an inheritance is quite a shock.
But I didn't think it was 1.3 million.
Finding forgotten families is the job of the heir hunters. They use genealogy to locate the next of kin who are in line for unexpected windfalls.
You are Virginia?
I am.
A visit from the heir hunters can change lives.
Suddenly to be thrust into this new family, it's been a real roller coaster of a ride, it really has.
I feel very proud of my father. He went through such a lot to give us what we've got today.
You never know when they might come knocking at your door.
Here at the Office of Probate Researchers Finders International, I'm told the team are taking on a high-value and competitive case that requires quick thinking. Any wrong turn in the research could damage the chance of finding potential heirs.
Hi, Amy. Tell me about this case, then, and why you took it on.
Well, this was the estate of Eileen Ruth Holmes. She passed away in June 2017. She was about 93 years old. We picked this up from an advertisement by the government legal department. The initial inquiries suggested that Eileen had been a property owner, that her property was worth around about £140,000.
So a pretty hefty estate.
Definitely something that was worth looking into.
What sense do you get of the competition? I mean, do you pick up the phone and suddenly find that the competition's been there before? And what sense do you get that you're in a race?
That is exactly one of the first indicators that we might have competition working alongside us.
And this cranks things up, I imagine, from your point of view.
Absolutely. The most important thing then is to get everybody working alongside you and to really crack on with the research and to be as precise and as accurate as you can to make sure that you are the first.
So the race is on. It'd be good to see how it turned out.
The stakes are high. With a £140,000 case on their hands, the pressure is on the team to find heirs fast.
Maybe I should order a bunch of these to make sure.
Although little is known about Eileen's family, close friend Judith Jones might be able to shed some light.
Well, I used to go and see Eileen on a weekly basis after Arthur, her second husband, was deceased, because she was quite lonely and she wasn't very mobile. She was a kindly soul. She was a very pleasant person. She just had a good life.
Judith was able to provide some useful information about Eileen's family ties.
I would go on a Monday afternoon and we would sit and talk about her past and what she did when she was younger, where she went on holiday. And she did say that she was, her maiden name was Middleton, and she thought she might be related to royalty, to Kate and William of the royal family. So we used to laugh about that because she was very keen on the royal family. Yes, I shall miss Eileen. She was a lovely lady.
In the office, the team had established that Eileen had been married twice. So Amy's next step was to check the records and search for any children from these marriages.
I know that Eileen's second husband, her latest husband, predeceased her, and that she didn't have any children with him, mainly because she was over the age of 50 when she married him. But from her previous marriage, I still need to make sure that she didn't have any children with him.
Despite scouring the birth records, Amy was unable to clarify Eileen's close kin.
There is one possible daughter to Eileen, but it's hard to rule her out 100%, and we can't find her to ask her. So I'm going to order that birth.
Amy must play a bold strategy to stay ahead of competitors until she can confirm whether this woman is a child from Eileen's first marriage to Clifford Ide.
I'm going to go with my gut feeling that Eileen didn't have any children from either marriage and move on.
It's a risk for Amy. If it turns out the woman is Eileen's daughter, or if Amy finds other children from Eileen's first marriage, any heirs she may trace won't be entitled.
Olivia, do you think you could try and get this record fax through for me, please?
Moving on, Amy begins to search for brothers and sisters Eileen may have had by looking for her on the 1939 register.
Eileen is with her parents, William and Daisy. But the only possible sibling for Eileen is a gentleman by the name of Stephen William Gardner. Now, he's born in a slightly different area. He's not born in Essex, he's born in West Ham.
Although it looks like Stephen could be a brother, Amy quickly reaches a dead end.
And I found a probable death for him. The problem I have is that he doesn't always go by Stephen William. He sometimes goes by William Stephen. I am working on the assumption that he was a brother, but he's passed away as a bachelor without children. Again, I'm not 100% certain, so I've ordered all of those possible records.
The two name variations of Stephen William and William Stephen, along with the tricky Gardner surname, mean that Amy must play a waiting game before she can confirm her research.
Amy, you seem to have reached a crossroads, so what did you do then?
We decided to widen the search right away. We initially took a look at Eileen's father, a gentleman named William Albert Gardner.
Gardner, pretty common name. Is that a difficult one?
Not only is it quite a common surname, it can be spelled in so many different ways.
Gardner, Gardner, with no vowel in between.
You have to redo the search under the variant spellings. The best way forwards is to get everybody involved.
Just throw more people at it?
Yeah, throw everyone we can at it and separate the search by variant surnames and see what comes back.
It'd be good to see the outcome on this one.
There's £140,000 at stake. Amy works on the name variations to get a step closer to beneficiaries.
There's one in Barking, there's one in South London. Just can't tell which one. It's really irritating.
We're really struggling with any information on the paternal side of the family. We do have his date of birth. The problem being is that we can't now link that in with any actual birth record for him. We need the marriage from Romford, which will have his father's name on it.
Until the marriage certificate for Eileen's parents arrives, all research on this paternal side is at a standstill. So Amy shifts focus to the maternal side of the family.
Eileen's mother was a Daisy Ruth Middleton. It was quite easy to find a correct birth record for her. So we know that she was the daughter of George Thomas Middleton and Cecilia Louisa Carter.
The uncommon Middleton name is useful, and Amy locates Eileen's maternal grandparents on the 1911 census. As luck would have it, she discovers that they had 9 children, including Eileen's mother, Daisy.
Olivia, could you try and order this record for me locally, please? Ideally, they'll fax it through or read the details over the phone.
If all of Eileen's aunts and uncles had gone on to marry and have children, they could be a vital step to heirs. First, they needed to be tracked down, so Amy calls for assistance.
You can look at Rose Middleton.
Rose. Okay. I've taken a line of Hannah Middleton. She was a maternal aunt of the deceased.
Eileen's Aunt Hannah did have 4 children: Charles, Jean, Andrew and Patricia. If Suzanne can find any of their children still alive, they could be the heirs that the team are searching for.
The people entitled on this line will all be cousins once removed, if not even further down, cousins twice removed. So I don't think they'll have too much information on the deceased.
Even if they don't, with another 7 maternal aunts and uncles still to look into, the search is now full of possibility.
Really? Oh, wow. OK, there's a big difference there.
But with the paternal grandfather's common name and the mystery of Eileen's offspring still to unravel, all this hard work so far is hanging in the balance.
It all could end up turning out that there is closer kin involved than we think, and all of this has been for nothing.
At Fraser and Fraser, the team have taken on the challenge of finding heirs to the estate of Audrey Barton. Case manager Gareth Langford was leading the search.
The estate of Audrey Barton actually came from a concerned friend. They called us up because they were concerned that the estate wasn't going in the right direction. So they asked for our assistance. We had a rough idea that the estate was going to be in the region of about £30,000. That's, for us, a relatively low value. So what we wanted was, quite a small family, not too much work, good names to work with, to keep our time to really a minimum. Some file for you.
Barton file, right?
File, thank you.
Cheers, mate, thank you.
Audrey Barton was born in 1928 in Battersea, London. She died in August 2016, aged 88. Searching for clues that might lead to beneficiaries of her £30,000 estate, the team had tracked down Sion Eiffel and Andy Sanders at Audrey's South London local.
What I liked about her was, you could have a laugh and a joke with her, because she could give as good as she got,
It wasn't just Audrey that the men knew. They were also friends with her husband, Frederick Barton, who she married in her 80s.
They're always together, weren't they?
That's right, yeah. Especially on a Sunday in Heir.
Yeah.
That's when you'd see them most. Yeah. And always dressed to a T, her and Fred.
Sion has the perfect way to remember them.
Now, this picture up here, this was done in tribute of the two of them. And here they are. There's Fred having a tipple, and there's Audrey in one of her lovely hats. That's how they looked, happy, happy, happy. Having a nice little drink together and being sociable. That's how anybody can remember them. Anybody, I think, who knew them. But me especially. That's why I took that picture.
In the London office, armed with the knowledge of a marriage, case manager Gareth and the team had kicked off their search for Audrey's heirs.
Hello. I was wondering about the marriage between Audrey Cole and...
However, a search of the marriage indexes led nowhere.
We knew she was married, and we also had the information about her maiden name, so we had enough information to be getting on with, but we couldn't actually locate the marriage record.
There turned out to be a good reason why they'd drawn a blank.
The deceased herself was 82 when she got married. That's extremely unusual for us. Actually took place in 2011, which for us is a real problem because the majority of the indexes we look at only go up to 2005.
I've got all the marriages, just to make sure it's definitely the correct marriages. Get on priority. Right, cool, right then. All right, mate, bye.
Eventually locating the correct marriage for Audrey, but knowing she'd been much too old to have children with Fred, they next checked for any children that her late husband may have had.
I feel like they might have... It could be, yeah, couldn't it? But the problem is I've got no kids off my marriage searches.
Research revealed that Frederick had been married before.
So from the marriage certificate, we could see that the deceased husband, Frederick, had been previously married. And with that information, we were able to see as well that he had a child.
Frederick, who Audrey had married 5 years before her death, had been previously married to a Margaret Wallace, and together they had a child. The discovery of Frederick's death only 5 months before Audrey soon ended this line of inquiry. It meant that his child would no longer inherit.
The deceased husband, Frederick, passed away in 2016. He didn't leave a will, So his estate passed to his wife. But unfortunately, where it didn't go was to Frederick's natural children.
No longer entitled to his own father's estate, Frederick's child was out of the picture. Having inherited from Fred, Audrey's estate would now pass to her blood relatives, but only if the team could find them.
I'm just trying to find the census.
In the office, the team had to go back to Audrey's maiden name to search for any siblings who'd be first in line to inherit.
What name do you want me to start off with?
A family surname Cole.
This revealed a familiar and tricky problem for the team.
The family surname Cole, it's quite a common surname, certainly not one of the better ones to work with. There's a lot of Coles out there, so it makes the research for us quite difficult.
Under pressure to crack the case after an unpromising start, Gareth called in extra help to work the tricky name of Cole.
OK.
We need to look into that.
All right, I'll look at that now.
The research becomes harder because there's more variables. So picking out like the right death or the right birth or the right marriage becomes a lot harder because the name is so common.
After much cross-referencing of names, they eventually found what they're looking for. Audrey's father, Albert Cole, married her mother, Winifred White, in 1915. To everyone's delight, records revealed that they had two other children, Winifred and Albert, Audrey's brother and sister.
Yeah. Sort of around that, give or take a year.
If they were still alive, or if they had children of their own, the team's hope for a quick result would be granted. But it wasn't to be.
Winifred, it transpired, didn't actually marry, and she didn't have any children. And her brother Albert, who did marry, he also didn't have any children. They're both predeceased.
This was bad news for the team. Audrey's brother and sister dying without producing heirs meant that the team now had to widen the net. They began to look for any aunts and uncles who would be next in line to inherit.
Do you want some help?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
All right, do you want me to put you apart?
Yeah, put a year either side, just see what comes out.
Researcher Josh was given the task of searching Audrey's father's side of the family.
On the paternal line, we looked for Albert Cole's parents. We figured out that Albert, his parents were Alfred Charles Cole and Alice Oxley Coleman, and they married in 1884 in Wandsworth.
This was a good start, and the team was soon able to establish that Audrey's grandparents had gone on to have 6 children. Albert, Audrey's father, Edith, Maud, Percy, Ella, and Lillian. The team were back on track. If any of these aunts and uncles had gone on to have children of their own, they would be the heirs that they were searching for. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out to be so straightforward.
That's the rate case for you.
Okay, thank you. First child is Edith Ellen Cole, and she died as a spinster in 1949. Maud, she died in the March quarter of 1931 in Battersea. Percy Cole, he died quite young, around 15 years old. Lillian Margaret Cole, and she was born the 10th of June 1906 in Wandsworth, and she died on the 1st of September 1970 in Surrey, and she also died as a spinster.
4 out of 5 of Audrey's paternal aunts and uncles had died without having children. The chance of finding an heir was now looking much less certain.
Everything hinged on Ella Florence Cole to get married and have children.
If an heir couldn't be traced, there was only one place the inheritance would go.
The estates that we encounter where there are no next of kin, where all the branches have died out, the estate will go to the Crown.
All hopes now rested with this one remaining aunt on the paternal side. With the maternal side still to research, all hope of a quick result was now a thing of the past.
Yeah, if we don't find any heirs, the case is closed.
Every year in Britain, thousands of ordinary people get an unexpected knock on the door from heir hunters.
Things like this don't happen all the time, do they?
Over the years, the heir hunters have given fortunes to the heirs that they find. As well as the unexpected windfalls, they also reunite relatives.
I have got relatives out there that I didn't know anything about.
There are still hundreds of estates left unclaimed. Listen carefully for the names. If you recognise yours, then one of them could rightfully belong to you.
The first case on today's list is Maud Lillian Gardner. She was born on the 1st of June 1911 in London, and her maiden name was Churchill. Maud married a Wilfred Albert Gardner in Wandsworth in 1942. She died on the 18th of March 1991 in London, aged 79. Could you be a relative of Maud's? Our next case is Ernest Randall Rathbone. Ernest was born on the 1st of July 1900. He went on to marry Mary Ralph in 1949 in Morden, Surrey. Ernest died on the 16th of August 1992 in Southend-on-Sea, Essex, aged 91. Perhaps you are part of the Rathbone family.
If so, the windfall could be coming your way.
In London, senior case manager Amy Moyes and her team from heir hunting firm Finders International were searching for beneficiaries of the late Eileen Holmes, who died at the age of 92 in 2017. In the search for Eileen's heirs, what have the team found out about her?
She was very astute. She had a really good memory, and as older people do, she had tremendously good memory of her early years.
In the course of their research, the team had discovered that Eileen's estate was of high value, and since it was advertised on the list of unclaimed estates, competitive.
This one involves a property that's worth in the region of 140,000.
Searching for heirs who would be entitled to inherit this six-figure estate, Amy had been unable to establish the exact name of Eileen's paternal grandfather. Research was also inconclusive about Eileen's own children.
I don't think they're a close kin, but I cannot be 100% sure without records.
So while Amy waited for certificates that might shed some light, she took a calculated gamble and continued with research.
My best chance of beating competition is to trace what look to be quite extensive maternal and paternal families.
Having discovered that Eileen had 8 maternal aunts and uncles, Amy brought in the rest of the team to find out if any of their families were still alive. If so, they could be the heirs they were looking for.
Taken a line of Hannah Middleton. She was a maternal aunt of the deceased. So I found that Hannah had 5 children.
While Suzanne concentrated on Hannah, Amy was looking into another of Eileen's maternal aunts.
So I'm looking into the stem of maternal aunt Ida Middleton. And I know that she's married a John Hobday in 1911. There are 5 possible children, and I know that she's certainly got 2 daughters.
The maternal research well underway, the team now had one of the records they were waiting for, Eileen's parents' marriage certificate. And from this, they can confirm Eileen's paternal grandfather's name.
I now know that his father definitely was William.
Eileen's grandfather, William Gardner, married Ellen Laker in 1893, and they had William, Eileen's father. Further searching of the records reveals that William wasn't Ellen Laker's only child.
And then in 1911, she is now a Holmwood, living with her second husband, also living with William. It looks as though his mother had an illegitimate child before him, which would make him of the half-blood. And then when she married her second husband, she had a daughter. But she would also be a half-blood sister, wouldn't she? Because she's got a different father, again. So that means we have no full-blood paternal heirs to trace.
The discovery that Eileen's grandmother, Ellen Laker, had 2 children besides William, an illegitimate child called Arthur and a daughter called Vera from her second marriage, was important for the search. Any heirs from this paternal side would be half-blood and only entitled if full-blood relatives weren't uncovered on the maternal side of the family.
We know there's no paternal heirs, which is good news.
All attention now quickly shifts back to finding heirs on the maternal side of the family.
If I can leave you to check out the maternal side.
OK. I'll have a look into it. Thanks.
Finally, the team have the breakthrough that they're looking for as they search the records of Eileen's Aunt Ida's family line. Ida had married John Hobday in 1911 and had 5 children who would now be well into their 80s. If any were still living, they could be the heirs the team needed.
It does completely make sense, yeah. I mean, out of everything else, it's the best case scenario.
Research reveals that 4 had died, but to everyone's surprise, the youngest is still alive at the ripe old age of 88.
OK, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, massively, yeah. That's good.
All the team had to do now was find the man's contact details and make sure he was the right cousin.
Hello there, it's Amy from Finders. So the reason why I wanted to have a chat with you, it's in connection with a lady that's passed away that I believe might have been a cousin of yours. And she's actually connected to your mother's side of the family, to the Middletons, and she became Mrs. Gardner. Do you recognise that surname? No?
Just when it looks like a dead end for Amy, the penny drops.
That rings a bell. Oh, near Colchester, Walton-on-the-Naze. That fits precisely with the Eileen that I'm referring to, so it sounds like she's the one that rings a bell, but you didn't know too much about her. But it seems to me as though this Eileen that I'm looking into is one and the same as the cousin of yours.
It's a watershed moment for Amy and the team.
After discussing his aunts and uncles with him, he actually did recall having briefly met the deceased Eileen.
Although the cousin was able to confirm that they were on the right track, he couldn't clear up the issue that was hanging over the case.
The only downside is that because he didn't have too much contact with Eileen, he wasn't 100% sure whether she'd had children.
If Eileen had had any children of her own, they would be the next of kin and the sole heirs to her estate. In this scenario, all of the team's work on the generation further back would be a waste of time.
William A.
It's a waiting game for certificates, which might just send the team right back to square one. With the arrival of the post comes the moment everyone's waiting for.
The certificate has come through, and luckily for me, this birth record is incorrect. So this child was not Eileen's. So that's a good start.
Along with the confirmation that Eileen had no children, the arrival of another certificate also clears up the question about her brother.
Now, he was her brother, and the death record is correct, and the informant on the death record is Eileen herself. So I can safely assume, therefore, that yes, Eileen had a brother, but he passed away most likely as a bachelor without children.
It's great news for Amy, which means the work into the maternal side has not gone on in vain. More importantly, they're also one step ahead of the competition. All the records now in, Amy delves into the family line of Eileen's Aunt Hannah.
Now, I can see that she's married a gentleman called Charles Horace Mitchell in 1915, and together they've had 3 or 4 children. One of those, the eldest, is a son, Charles Alfred Mitchell, born in 1920.
If Charles Alfred Mitchell is still alive or had children, they would be the heirs the team need. But there's an obvious issue.
So one of our immediate concerns is going to be whether or not Charles was enlisted in World War II. He's of a prime age when war broke out.
In fact, Eileen's cousin Charles did serve in World War II and in one of the most respected branches of the British Army, the SAS. These special forces saw some of the most daring campaigns of the entire war.
The SAS was set up in the Western Desert in Egypt and Libya in 1941, and the purpose was to go behind the German lines in a very fluid desert situation, and particularly to attack the lines of communication.
The SAS was made up of volunteer commandos. Those who joined knew that their lives were on the line.
They took on big risks, and they knew that if they were captured, the likelihood is they could be shot.
Charles Mitchell was involved in SAS missions towards the end of the war.
Trooper Mitchell probably joined the Special Air Service in early 1944, prior to D-Day, and his first exposure to the war was in France in August 1944. We know that the whole squadron, of which Trooper Mitchell was an integral part, they caused about 500 German casualties. They destroyed about 30 vehicles. They destroyed a petrol dump. They also blew up a railway line, and they only suffered about 10 casualties themselves. So it was a very highly effective operation.
Though millions died in World War II, Charles Mitchell was one of the lucky ones.
Although a large number of the SAS were either killed in action or sadly executed by the Germans, we know that Trooper Mitchell survived, came home, and came back to his family.
News that Trooper Mitchell had survived the war led Amy and the team to find a marriage between a Charles Alfred Mitchell and Dorothy Braham. They were now scouring the records for any children they might have had.
When was the marriage, Amy?
21.
21.
The search didn't take long. Charles and Dorothy had 4 children. And one of them, Christine Heirs, Eileen's cousin once removed, was found alive and well and living in Norfolk. For Christine, the news that she was in line to inherit a share of that £140,000 estate came as a total surprise.
It was a real shock. Nothing like that has ever happened to me, so I didn't expect it like that.
Christine never met Eileen, but she remembers another family member.
Totally somebody that I wasn't connected with or anything, but I'd since found out that I knew her brother. I think his name was Billy Gardner, and that is somebody I knew from my childhood that I used to see when I visited my grandparents.
Since the air hunters got in touch, memories of Christine's father's military service have been very much in mind.
I always knew my father was in the SAS. One of the founding members, he never spoke about it, but since all this has happened, I've got in touch with my cousins and that, and we've learnt so much more about my father and what a hero he was.
Back in the office, Amy and the team had completed their hunt for Eileen's heirs.
We have established there are no paternal heirs, but there are several maternal heirs, and 18 of those have signed with us so far.
Each of those beneficiaries stand to receive a tidy sum from her estate, worth around £140,000. For Amy, not only was it a fascinating case to work, but one in which her strategy paid off.
This case was a real gamble. We had so many ups and downs throughout the research, so many pieces of research that were uncertain, and we had to take a risk on. It turned out to be a complete success, which was fantastic, but it was certainly a relief once we reached the end.
For Heir Christine, the experience has opened her eyes to something more valuable than money.
I didn't know Eileen, but she's opened up family history that I didn't know anything about. That I just knew parts of. And what I've learned about my dad's military history is quite mind-blowing.
In the London office, the team at Fraser and Fraser were working on the case of Audrey Barton.
What I liked about her was when you could have a laugh and a joke with her. Because she could give as good as she got, you know.
As the value was fairly modest, the team had to work quickly to make it worthwhile.
We had a rough idea that the estate was going to be in the region of about £30,000. That's, for us, a relatively low value. So what we wanted was, quite a small family, not too much work, good names to work with, to keep our time to really a minimum.
In the hunt for beneficiaries, the team had found aunts and uncles on Audrey's father's side of the family. But when they searched the records, it wasn't good news.
So it was actually quite interesting on this case that most of them died without having any children.
All hopes for finding an heir on the paternal side rested with Audrey's Aunt Ella.
In order for any paternal heirs to benefit from this case, we needed Ella to marry and have children.
While the team searched Ella's records, Gareth began to look into Audrey's mother's side of the family and very quickly hit a problem.
The other surname we were dealing with, White, is actually even more common. White is one of the most common surnames that we have to deal with. And because of that, it's extremely difficult to research.
Despite the name difficulty, Gareth and the team located Audrey's mother, Winifred White's birth certificate, and from this record found her parents.
We knew that Winifred's parents were William and Ellen. From that, we need to locate the marriage record of William and Ellen, which took place in 1890 in Wandsworth.
Knowing where and when William and Ellen had married, Gareth pulled in extra help to scour the birth indexes. They searched for all the children with the surname White born after 1890 in and around Wandsworth.
Now we've got the key names that we need to work from, we're still battling with White.
Eventually, after discounting lots of matches, they hit on 3 promising children in addition to Audrey's mother Winifred.
We were able to establish that Winifred had 3 siblings. So we had a brother Arthur, a sister Ethel, and another brother, Ernest.
If any of Audrey's siblings had gone on to have families of their own, they could be the heirs the team were looking for. As they searched the records, they immediately turned up bad news about Audrey's uncle Arthur.
Arthur was actually born as Arthur William White in 1896. He actually died a minor. He died as a young child in 1898.
So now, with only the lines of Ethel and Ernest left, the team dug into online records, and searching Ernest made a fascinating discovery.
Interestingly enough as well, we had an MBE for services to London Transport.
Although Ernest had the honour of becoming a member of the Order of the British Empire, his rather distinguished career had begun in a very ordinary way.
It seems Ernest started in 1920 as an apprentice with London County Council tramways.
From these humble beginnings, Ernest soon found himself getting more involved with working practices.
Ernest was a very keen trade unionist, and he started dealing with the local conditions, the way work was organised, perhaps how tea breaks were taken and that sort of thing, but he ended up as president of the trade union that he was a member of.
In recognition of his outstanding service to London Transport, Ernest was to receive his accolade in 1968.
It seems very much for his trade union work that he was given the British Empire Medal. It was quite an achievement.
In the office, the team had discovered something or someone very useful for their search. While he'd been working for London Transport, Ernest had found himself a wife.
So whilst we were looking at Ernest George White, we noticed that he married a Ethel Rose Tutt. They married on the Christmas Day of 1926 in Wandsworth.
If Ernest and Ethel had children, they would be the heirs to the estate the team was searching for.
Order all the marriages, just to make sure it's definitely the correct marriages. Get on priority. Right, cool, right then. All right, mate, bye.
While Josh continued his research into Ernest's family line, Gareth looked into Ethel May, Audrey's aunt.
Gareth, did your research into Ethel May get you any further forward?
She married twice, in fact. Firstly to Arthur McKee in 1915, and secondly to Thomas Sherman in 1936. She had quite a large family, one of which was...
Yeah, lots of children.
Arthur Ernest McKee. And he married Queenie Tutt.
Queenie Tutt?
Queenie Tutt.
It's a terrific name.
Brilliant name. We'd come across the Tutt name before.
Tutt?
Tutt, absolutely.
Where?
Queenie had a sister.
Yeah.
And her sister Ethel Tutt was married to Arthur's uncle.
But that's a previous generation.
Exactly, yes.
How did that make her husband... What was the relationship between these people?
I think it would have been interesting at Christmas. Arthur, basically, I think, you know, his uncle was also his brother-in-law.
I mean, it's fascinating, but did he get you any further forward in finding an heir?
It did. Arthur and Queenie actually had a daughter, Sandra, and she was our first beneficiary.
She was the first heir?
First heir.
After all that, you'd finally got to the heir?
Yeah, after a lot of work, yeah, we got something up today.
Oh, well done.
And here is Sandra, who was amazed to discover that she'd be an heir to Audrey's estate.
Very surprising to get their call, yes. I did realise that Audrey had died because an aunt of mine told me that she'd died.
Sandra knew very little of Audrey in later life.
I did know Audrey, but only as a child. We lost contact probably maybe just after we moved down here.
Despite losing contact over the years, Sandra was touched to learn that her cousin had eventually got married.
I think it's lovely to have found love in your 80s. Yes, it's a wonderful thing to have happened to her, and she was obviously very happy in her later years, which is great.
In the Frasers' office, it may have taken longer than they originally hoped. But Gareth and the team had finally located all the remaining heirs.
We have 2 heirs on the father's side of the family, paternal side, and 10 beneficiaries on the maternal side, the mother's side. Total of 12 beneficiaries.
The estate, worth around £30,000, means money in the pockets of Audrey's beneficiaries. Sandra, for one. She's become keen to learn more about her long-lost relatives.
This made me very interested in looking into family history, and I have my son at it now as well as myself, and we're trying to do what we can to find out about, you know, various members of the family that have long past.
The case wasn't easy to crack, but finding out that Audrey's uncle had been honoured with an MBE made it pretty special. But the best part for me was knowing that Audrey had found and married Fred, the love of her life, at the age of 82. Gives us all hope. Until next time, goodbye.